All right, Dennis Freeman, first tonight. First from Long Island. What's up, Dennis? Good to see you here. Hey, I'm Chris. I'm your engineer tonight for Cannonball Chronicles. We're just about 8 minutes away from going live. We're going to let our social media feed build up a little bit, but man, we got a great show for you tonight. So get ready. Get a cold one. Hit the like and share button. Let your friends know we're about to go live. 8 minutes till Cannonball Chronicles. Hump Day! Man, you guys are in from all over the place. New York City in the house. Lancaster, New York. Cincinnati, Ohio. Swansea, Mass. Good to see you guys all here tonight, man. Wednesday, trucking through the week like a runaway train. Time for Cannonball Chronicles, my favorite part of the week. Old bikes and great stories. Get ready. Just 4 minutes out. Wowby, Michael Lichter's here with us. Michael, how you doing, buddy? He's been crazy in that yard since the whole lockdown thing, man. He says he's rarely without his pruning shears. Good place to be. Chris Tribby from Milwaukee. Good to see you here, Chris, man. Gene Landrian, Trisha Chance, Team Not a Chance, 108, West Philly, Iowa. Stick around, man. We got just 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes. Going live with Cannonball Chronicles. Just past the 2-minute mark, and it's good enough time as any. Pull this train up out of the station, get it on the tracks. We're going to go live with Cannonball Chronicles. Get ready, man. Here we go.
Well, hey there, we are back this Wednesday for another episode of Cannonball Chronicles. I'm Jason Sims, your host for the evening, along with my co-host, Robbie Nussbaum from Retro Cycle. Robbie, how's it going?
Jason, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, man, just cracking right along. The week's doing good. Having a great time out here. Weather is flipping hot. I don't even know what to say, but it's been a good week. What you up to?
I am all over the ice this week. This afternoon, Monday, I tried to move my forklift and got about 3 feet, and then the thing broke down in the middle of the floor. So for 3 days, I've been chasing the brakes on this forklift and finally got that squared away, but just lost 3 days that I'm never going to get back. So
I hear you. Time is precious. Time is precious.
Yeah, it's one thing after another around here, but I'm trying to lighten the load and maybe scale down the operation a little bit and concentrate more on engines and transmissions and that kind of stuff. But we're still a good source for your parts and whatnot. I don't want to get into a whole commercial, but see that thing up top, Retro Cycle, that's us, Retro Cycle Studios. And we're trying to fill the orders and do our thing here. So,
I see you guys still cracking along. I mean, building the motors, still working on Cannonball stuff. I talked to a few riders that still got their stuff there, and they say that you're still cranking away, still on track, even though we're not doing anything this year. Riders are still on track to try to get done.
We're doing a lot of singles, and Ryan's really been racking his brain to make these things work a lot better. So. He's working hard at it, and I go back there and he's, crunching numbers and try and leave him alone and let him do his thing. So,
right.
he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Heck yeah. So, hey, I want to, last week we had a little bit of somber news with, having to announce that we're postponing this year's Cannonball until September of 2021. Since then, the last 7-8 days, I've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of messages about what's going to happen with the cross-country chase. Well,
what's going to happen with the cross-country chase? What's going to happen?
Well, I'm going to tell you. So for those of the people that don't know, the cross-country chase is another event brought to you by us here at Motorcycle Cannonball and my partners in it, Legends Motorcycles here in Springville, Utah. It's really kind of an offshoot of the Motorcycle Cannonball, but a little bit different. So what we do here is it's a competition for motorcycles that are 1930 to 1948. Last year was our first inaugural event. We went from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, where we're starting a Cannonball, and we went to Key West, Florida. What makes this a little bit more different than the motorcycle Cannonball is that, one, it's a little bit more modern bikes. The biggest thing is we don't allow support crews. It's just you, your motorcycle. You have to carry all your clothes. You have to carry all your tools. You have to carry all your spare parts. So no support crews, no trucks, no trailers. You're carrying your luggage. You're carrying everything, and it really, it's just a challenge of man versus machine. We added a few more elements in it, so we considered it a race of endurance, navigation with the maps. I don't even remember, but then we added this little knowledge thing in on it. So every day we made the riders take a 10-point quiz, which actually went towards their final score, and which helped determine the winner at the end. So a lot of questions of what's going to happen, because we were planning on rolling the next one out next September. We've been working hard on this. I actually got the next route done. It's kind of set in stone. I'm working on some details now, and a lot of people think that I'm going to move this event until 2022. Well, I'm going to put it right here right now for you guys that are doing the chase, that are interested in doing the chase. You better get ready, because I'm bringing the chase to you in 2021 as planned. We're just not going to do it in September. We're going to shoot for June, July, some other time like that. And I've got a really, really spectacular route planned for you. Something a little bit different than we did last year for going from point A to point B. We're actually going to start right here in Springville, Utah at Legends Museum. We're going to do a big loop or two through the Rockies. So we're going to do a chase through the Colorado Rockies, and we're going to wind up right back in Springville, Utah a week later. So it's going to be super, super challenging. It's going to be difficult. I can tell you it's going to be difficult. This isn't going to be a weekend road run. This is going to be difficult. Bigger, better questions, more miles, more terrain. You better get ready. I'm putting it out there right now. What do you think about that, Robbie?
So the question I have is, these are 1930 to 48 again. Is that the range of years for the motorcycles eligible?
I'm looking. I think people got a little confused why I did 1948 before. So I think just to make it a little bit more simpler, I'm going to probably do 1930 to 1950. So anything pre-1950, you'll be eligible, and get out there, get it done. One thing that we do on this, the winner, once you do the miles, we name the winner the legend. Last year it was Todd Cameron. I think he rode a 1930 something BSA single cylinder, killed it on the knowledge, killed it on everything. He was deemed the first legend. Because if you do get through this challenge and you have the knowledge and you have the capability of doing this run, you are a legend, So, cash prizes, we did it all. We knocked out the stops on the last time, and, and made it fun and exciting. So
what was Todd riding? He was single cylinders, I believe, as I remember.
It was,
right?
yeah. I want to say it was like a 1931 or 32 BSA Triumph Sloper. I'm not real up on that kind of stuff, but
that's
it was a badass motorcycle. He was badass to do it. He made it. No support crews, no help, no nothing. Just him and his bike, and he made it the 2,500 miles.
That's great. For any new viewers tuning in tonight, you're watching the Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. We want you to hit the like and share button. Tell all your friends. Without the support and the growth, we don't get anywhere with this program, and you don't get motorcycle programming. So hit the like and share button. Tell all your friends. Have your friends share the program, and this thing will grow. And and we can bring you some exciting programming here.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to expand on what the Cannonball is a little bit, Jason?
Yeah, for those people that haven't tuned in before, and this might be your first time checking us out here on the Chronicles, the Motorcycle Cannonball is a cross-country endurance run that we do every 2 years. We were supposed to do it this year here in 2020. As you can see behind me, that's not happening anymore. So that's been crossed out. We're moving the event to 2021. Still the same route. We're going to go from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan to East Coast, Myrtle Beach, and then to South Padre Island. It's a little over 4,000 miles, and we'll be doing it on pre-1930 motorcycles. Currently, we have about 100 and so riders signed up for the event. It's probably the most difficult challenge there is as far as a motorcycle. So, for you that
Jason,
don't know a whole lot of information, check out the website. A lot of great information there. We have a lot of great videos, photos. It'll get you excited. It'll tell you exactly where we're going, the route that we're doing. Keep up with our blog. We have a lot of great merchandise on there to help support us. Shoot me an email, shoot me a text if you got questions. We want to make sure you guys get involved and know what's going on with us. So,
hey, I got a question for you. Can you hear my chair squeaking?
I can.
Yeah, I borrowed Carson's chair, and it's old like he is. So this is my Mike Carson chair.
That's funny. That's freaking hilarious.
It's old like Mike is. So I see a lot of familiar faces out on social media. There's a guy local, David Crum, who I've seen him on a bunch of the other shows that are on the Cycle Source Network on Source Media. And he's right downtown in Butler, right down the street from me. So I'd like to have a shout out to him. Chris Tribby, Walter Curro, Dave Courier. The list goes on and on and on. And I see my wife is on there keeping an eye on me. So that's good.
Hey, I haven't seen him chime in yet here online, but I talked to him just a few minutes before the show. I know there's a group of guys out in Colorado over at Cole Deister's house. I think it's Cole and Joe Sparrow and Doug Wathke and Luke Garrett's over there. So they've been having fun the last few days, but I want to pull up a quick picture real quick. Chris, can you pull up a picture I sent? What the heck is this?
Is that Broke Down Cole?
That's Broke Down Cole.
And does Joe Sparrow have a stick to hit him with? What is that?
It must be.
Is he whipping?
Son, what are you doing riding an Indian?
Is he whipping Cole? What's going on there?
I want to know. I want them guys to chime in and see what the heck is going on. There they are. Two more tinkers.
Cole was telling me that this whole thing is a bunch of cannonballers doing some shakedown rides.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like over the next week or so, there's a bunch of cannonballers getting ready to just do a little shakedown. It was kind of planned before that, just to do a last little shakedown run and keep going. So I'm actually gonna sneak away here this weekend and go meet up with them. So I'm excited to get out there with these guys and go put a few miles on in the mountains.
They invited you this time?
No, they didn't. Well, I was on the waiting list. And,
you got in?
I did. I had to do a freaking entry video, a bio, pay an entry fee. I took a quiz, which they said I failed, but I called bullshit on it.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
So they made me go through all this rigmarole, and then they put me on the waiting list. So
that's friends for you. Without, nobody puts the fun in dysfunctional like friends do. Friends and family. Hey, Carson wants to know why everybody gives Mike a hard time.
Have you seen him lately?
I haven't seen him lately. He's been in Facebook jail, from what I understand.
He is.
So, hey, look, a couple housekeeping things here. We have sponsors in the logo roll right above my head here, up here. there.
Shout them out, Robbie.
Oh, we got Chopper Town. We've got Jim's Performance Machine, Dennis Kirk. There's a whole bunch of people there. Take a look at the logo roll during the show. These are people supporting us. We'd like you to support them and give them a shout out. I believe Chris Tribby's up there now, and Rocky Mountain Motorcycle Museum. Good friends, good sponsors. Make sure you support these guys. Take some time and look. Kiwi Mike, I see him up there now. So that would be great. But enough about our nonsense, Jason. I think it's time to talk about 1,000 words.
Yeah. We actually, we're changing it up a little bit this week. Oh.
We're going to do it without Michael Lichter.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I jumped the gun a little bit there.
So we have somebody besides Michael Lichter tonight. We are joined tonight with Missy Shoemaker. As you all know, she's part of the Cyclosaurus magazine group. She helps us with this show every week. We're planning on rotating this spot out now for the next few weeks, so we'll see a bunch of different people bringing their pictures worth 1,000 words. So let's jump to Missy.
Before Missy starts, for those of you that don't know, Michael is now co-hosting Coast to Coast with Chris Simmons on Tuesday nights. So just be sure to look for that, and Cyber Swap on Sunday morning, and Bike Night on Thursday, and
Shop Talk on Sunday.
Shop Talk on Sunday.
Lot.
Thanks, Missy.
It's a lot. We're busy.
The flagship show, right? I screwed that one up. Thanks. All right, Missy, thanks for jumping in here, and we're really excited to have you aboard with us tonight.
I'm excited to be here. So I was able to travel along in the 2016 Cannonball with Michael Lichter. I drove his RV across country with the group, and I really had an amazing time. So I'm really excited to be able to do this tonight. And I chose this photo. This one was taken during stage 14, which was Lake Havasu to Palm Desert. And this is a route sheet. And for those of you that really don't know how these guys get around, this is their map. Now, when I was working on the chase, I helped Leanne navigate the van, Shelly and I, and we had to read these directions. And let me tell you, they're tough. They're very informative, but sometimes you get confused. So I can imagine trying to remember all the different things that you're doing, riding these old motorcycles and still trying to read these directions.
Absolutely. It's actually one of the hardest challenges in the Cannonball. I mean, not just riding the motorcycle, getting prepared and ready for it, but this particular part of it, a lot of people struggle with because, it's navigation and we're not giving you exact street names and cities, and you got to be paying attention. You got to have a very, very accurate odometer to know when to navigate these turns, because we might just say, hey, turn at mile 134, take a left, and not give you a street name some of the times or a specific landmark. So you got to be paying attention for sure.
And what you don't see here, you can kind of see in the photo, those come on these really long rolls. So that contraption there rolls that across. And so, they have to also turn it when they get past that next thing. So it's right. Very interesting. And I understand how some of them do get lost because it does happen. So, but I thought that was an interesting point to bring up tonight, and so people kind of could understand how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that people didn't know, and it was something that we just started last year, was we now make these scrolls on one continuous paper. But even going back as far as the 16 Cannonball, 14, and that, we used to give it to you on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you would have to go in and cut it, tape it all together, and then put it in your scroll box. Well, if you aren't good with arts and crafts, a lot of people struggled with that. And they would get through a third of the directions and their scroll thing would just fall apart, and and then they were really screwed. So we have made it a little easier on them here the last few years. So just one of those little history lessons, that some of these riders actually had to go through.
Mike Carson might have a little something to say about these roll charts, and he'll be texting in the comments, but he's got people in mind to do the roll charts for him because Mike is too good to do his own roll chart. But it's pick on Mike night. But if people take a look at this picture, they can see on the left there's two knobs that are tension knobs for the paper. And if you look to the right of the box, you can see the take-up reels for these things. So you have to load this in every day before you go. And then if you get off course, those numbers on the right are your mile markers. Is that correct, Jason? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, right.
Okay, so you should be at that turn at that mile marker. Well, if you get off course, now you have to mentally compensate for those mile markers and do your adjustments. So if your odometer, and if you're lucky enough to have an odometer, says 97.84 or whatever it is, and you've been 10 miles off course or 8 miles off course, you have to start doing mental calculations of where you are.
Right.
So it is a challenge.
No, it is. It becomes a challenge of mathematics. And
we, when we struggled in the chase a couple times with them, and we were in the van. So,
Yeah, but you had 3 girls in the van, and I could just imagine.
No, we actually did really good. I think there was only like one time that we really got off, and it was like, what in the world? But it was pretty good.
So tell us about it. So what happened, Missy? What were like some of the trials and tribulations of getting off course with this thing?
Luckily, we didn't get off too bad. I think we just missed like one turn. So we just were able to like kind of guess how many miles we were off and, just turned around and went back and, and followed it that way. And then sometimes we didn't start and make sure. That's pretty much.
Yeah, it's quite a test to use those things, I have to say. I like the background you have there, too. You got the blue sky, you got the mountain range, and a whole bunch of other things. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that was a killer day. I remember that day very well.
Oh, it was so beautiful. And
it was.
And the route, it was just so awesome. And it was a great time, like, for me to be on that trip because I had never driven all the way across country like that before. And luckily, I wasn't considered like one of the normal chase vehicles. Since I was working for Michael, I could actually go on part of the, I could go on the route if I wanted. And a lot of days I did the same route. And some days I didn't. I would like go sightseeing or whatever. As long as I made it to the finish line before Michael, I was good. So like on this one though, I followed the route pretty much, and we were on our way to 29 Palms right here, and that was where the lunch stop was that day. And then later that day we went through Joshua Tree, and that was just amazing. That
was the freaking funnest road ever.
It definitely was.
One
it was
of the
cool
things
in the van.
One of the things a lot of people also don't know is that the riders don't know where they're finishing at night. They don't know the route till they get the route sheet.
Yeah, and they don't get the route sheet till that morning.
Right.
Right.
And that was something else that we changed this last year was, we used to give you the route sheet when you came in that night. And then you could get it prepared and do homework on it and be ready for the next day. But we were finding a lot of people were photocopying it, giving it to their friends, giving it to their support crews. So just to eliminate a lot of people on the route, we decided to give it out 30 minutes before you leave. And it just adds a little bit more to the challenge of, hey, I got to scan through this and figure out, all right, where can I stop and get gas? Because we give you all the gas stops on it. So you can do a little bit of planning that way of, but we only give you 30 minutes now. And you can't get on Google Maps that quick. to see what kind of terrain you're going to be on and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of reasonings why we did that.
And it also keeps the support crew off of the route. And that's one of the things, I don't know if everyone understands on the Cannonball, is the support crew, they go from point A to point B the straightest, they are given their own set of directions. So they're not allowed to follow along behind the teams.
Yep, exactly.
So
That's right.
So
that's all I got.
I love it. I love that route. I love the map. I love that photo.
Thank you.
So it looks, Missy, I just appreciate you coming in tonight and stepping up and sharing that photo with us and giving us a little background on the route sheet and some of the trials and tribulations that people have to go through when they're involved with the motorcycle Cannonball. That it's not just get on your bike and ride and with a group of people. It is that, but it's more.
It's
it
way
is truly
more,
an endurance.
for sure.
It's there's a lot of mental components to this thing, good and bad. So I see it's about time we give a shout out to our sponsors and take a little break and come back with our first guest. What do you think?
Hey, Robbie, before we go to that, I want to ask Misky one last question.
Yes.
Sure.
Are you going to sit in our sidecar tonight, Missy?
The sidecar. I definitely will hang out if you want me to.
All right. Hell yeah, we want you to hang out.
Oh yeah, definitely, Missy. Yeah, keep an eye on some of the social media for us tonight too, if you would. That'd
I
be
will
great.
totally do that.
All right.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Cool. Let's do a little breaky.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm with Banks Brothers Motorcycles. One of the things I want to show you today is our new improved engine puller. George has made some significant changes in the design that have really made the puller become what we think it can be. And what was it, George? What did you change?
The changes to this machine has been in the arms and in the hands. We put heim joints in the hand to allow rotation of the engine, which makes it easier to get it in and out of the frame because everyone knows them Harley engines are tight. With the angle change, we have equal clamping pressure on them. And over here we have what's called the posi lock, which allows this to be locked in place and the engine can't swing from side to side. With these improvements, we're pretty confident it'll be a good machine.
And we're going to show you just how easy it is to pull the motor out of the bike right now. What we have is a 36 knuckle. George is actually going to come in, make contact with the cylinders, tighten it down, and pull it out of there. What are you doing now, G?
The first thing we do is tighten the hands on the cylinders. That stabilizes everything. Then we have a posi lock, which is just two simple screws we screw down so you have no side-to-side play with this mechanism. When that's complete, you're ready to lift it up, rotate it, and bring the assembly out of the frame. And that's easily accomplished with a couple pumps of this hydraulic jack. You see the motor starting to move, and it centers itself due to the heim joints.
The heim joints have changed everything with the engine puller. We were really struggling to get the motor at this point right here out of the bike. The heim joints have changed everything for us. It allows us to take it out with total ease, and we get the movement that we need.
This allows no side play once the motor's in place, and it keeps it safe, it can't fall out, and it's really worked well.
It's just that easy. We really feel that we have the tool the best it's been, where it's a really productive product and we really feel strong about what it can do in the marketplace. Visit BanksBrothersMotorcycles.com to order your Banks lift.
Heck yeah, Banks Brothers lifts. I love that thing. I use mine probably at least once a week. I might not be lifting motors with it in and out of bikes, but I do use it to lift other things and move stuff around the shop. To me, it has more uses than actually a lift. And one of these days, I may just have to show you guys some of those tips and tricks from the shop.
I was amazed about how quickly we were able to pull the motor out of my bike and put it back in. Like, it was amazing using that thing.
Oh yeah, that thing is so killer, so killer. And I mean, it just rolls so easy and operates so easy.
Well, that was the Cycle Source Product of the Year last year, if I'm not mistaken. That's a pretty, that's a pretty big deal.
I'm nominated for the Product of the Decade. I mean, it's that good. I mean, you just don't see new things coming in the industry all the time, and that's one of them that it helps a lot of us. So
Yeah, it's a great product. Great product.
absolutely. So
We gonna meet a rider?
I think we should. I think it's time to bring in our first rider.
Well, let's.
Oh yeah. I was wondering
Oh,
who
it's
was
a-
going to be first. I never even looked at the lineup to see who was going to be on first. I'm excited about this. We got Steve and Joan DeCosa from New York. How's it going, guys?
Hi.
Good. Hi, Cannonball Nation,
Oh, good to
Cannonball
see
family.
you. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Oh, absolutely. You guys are looking great.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. So are you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
making us look good. Keep the camera on them, Chris. No, don't come to us. If you have Joan DeCosa, what do you need to look at us for?
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, and it's the Joan DeCosa show, folks.
So what's been happening with the DeCosas?
We've been locked in since March,
Yeah,
and we've been working on bikes.
we're somewhat relieved to see that things were postponed for next year. Today is July 15th. It was 2 years ago today exactly. We were building a 12 twin for the 2018 Cannonball, and I got to July 15th, and I knew I wouldn't make it for September. We put the 12 aside, and we dug out the 15 Harley, the 1915 Harley from 2016. And 2 years ago today, it was in exactly the same condition that it is now. The transmission and engine out, everything apart, rear wheel off, tanks off. So history repeats itself.
Joan's been cleaning.
Yeah. So I'm not really a procrastinator, but it just seemed everything seemed to take longer than I expected. I want to say right at the start, I want to say thanks to everybody at Cycle Source Magazine. Thanks for having us, for being part of the show. We're very grateful. Every day we think of Lonnie Jr. This event, which has changed our lives, was all because of Lonnie's faith in me. I was new to motorcycling, new to antique motorcycling, and I wrote Lonnie a letter, and he answered me right away. People always ask, they always say, how did you get the number 2 placard? Not that there's any significance to that number, but people say, how did you get it? And on the form, there's a little box when you enter the Cannonball. It says number preference. And I wrote right across it, no preference. No preference.
Just let us in.
And Lonnie sent us the number 2 placard, and we've been grateful ever since. We think of him every day, and just so thankful to be a part of an event that has truly changed our lives. The people we've met, the places we've been, the sights we've seen, I never would have expected, never would have anticipated.
Right.
So
your guys' first Cannonball was in 2014, correct?
2014, I entered my first Cannonball at age 65. I was 65 on the first one. You can do the math. But that went well. I can tell you how I got into motorcycling and then into the Cannonball. When I was 10 years old, my father built me a motorbike, Briggs & Stratton 1.5 horsepower horizontal shaft motor, centrifugal clutch, a bicycle frame with a couple of knobby tires on it. The plans were in December 1960 Popular Mechanics magazine. In fact, just a couple of years ago, I gave him a copy of that issue as a Christmas present. I said, Dad, do you remember building a motorbike? And he said, of course I remember. He said, I built every nut and bolt in. Of course I remember it. But if you have that picture number 1, if that'll come up. But we lived in downstate New York, about an hour and a half above New York City, but it was very rural. It was a dirt road, and the county didn't pave our road until I was a senior in high school. So I ripped up and down all these roads with abandon and just loved riding that bike. This was taken just before I turned 12 years old. This is in May 1961. And if you notice, there's a little negative rake to that front fork, little negative caster. You can see that. That was from a couple of unsuccessful ramp jumps. I predated Evel Knievel by several years and wiped out more than once. I had knees and hands full of gravel and helmet. We don't need no helmets. But that was my first motorcycle. And 50 years later, that was 1961. 50 years later, almost to the day, May 1961, I bought my first motorcycle. I never rode a motorcycle all my life. In May of 2011, we bought a Heritage Softail, a used Heritage Softail. I did my 50 hours of supervised riding that New York State requires. The next day, I took my road test on a Thursday. On a Friday, we left two up with two other couples on a 2,000-mile trip that included Wheels Through Time and Wheels Through Time Museum in Maggie Valley. I talked to Dale. I introduced myself to him, and of course I knew him from the internet. Talked to Dale. He spent 3 hours with us. I said, Dale, I've been an antique car guy all my life. I dabbled with race cars a little bit. I want to get into antique motorcycling. He said, get a JD. Without a moment's hesitation, he said, get a JD. So that was 2011. 2012 at the Ole AMCA meet, I saw a Project JD for sale. I looked it over.
Something we could afford.
Yeah, I had a few coins in my pocket and anxious to buy it. Now, I had not yet joined the Antique Motorcycle Club of America. I didn't know anything about the Cannonball. I went and saw, in the flea market area, I saw Matt Waxler. I saw Paul Lucy. I saw Buzz Cantor. And I said, would you guys come and look at this bike and give me your opinion? The three of them came over, spent 15, 20 minutes with me, said, yeah, it looks like a good project. It's a basket case, all apart in pieces, literally in boxes. I bought it. That was 2012. I didn't do anything with it until the following year, May of 2013. And then I read about this Cannonball. So now I've got a bike that I know nothing about. I've never worked on. I've never ridden an antique bike. Why not join the motorcycle Cannonball? Sign up for the motorcycle. After all, I've been riding for 3 years. So I wrote to Lonnie, and as I say, he answered me. We ended up with placard number 2. Over that next year, we restored the bike. Actually, we restored it in about 6 months. We did everything here. And I got to give a shout out to Steve Lepold, who did, without his parts and services, wouldn't be in any of the Cannonball events. But we did everything here. I taught myself. I went to YouTube University, taught myself how to lace and screw wheels. We did sandblasting, welding, soldering, brazing, fabrication, light machine work, wheel truing, painting, pinstriping, nickel plating. We did everything here in this 2-car garage, which, by the way, is 12 by 30 feet. That's our entire garage, 12 by 30 feet. And we did pretty well in the 2014 Cannonball.
Steve and I laugh. We say we went to LaPolt University because if Steve LaPolt said, do this, I wrote it down on my little pad and I said, okay, Steve said, do this, you do it. And
I'm going to interrupt you here for a second because when you say we, Steve, who are you referring to? Because and Joan is known by another name.
The crew chief. This is Crew Chief Joan, my wife of soon to be 48 years. 48 years.
Congratulations.
We went to the prom together in 1965.
And she still stayed with you, right?
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
And the less I say, the smarter I get. The more I listen, the smarter I get. There's some advice, Aaron, for you.
Well,
there have been a lot of pictures of Joan working on the bike.
Yeah.
And she's not just another pretty face, let me tell you.
Well, thank you.
She is working hard on those bikes.
It's amazing to me. We like to do things together. We restored antique Fords all the time. I could go to Hershey and walk down the aisle and say, that's the part I need. This is the part I need. And I knew all the parts. With motorcycles, we knew nothing.
There's a steep
I
learning
couldn't
curve.
go
yeah.
to a swap meet and find a motorcycle part that belonged to a 15 Harley for anything. So we relied on talking to people and asking people. And you might laugh. I would walk around flea markets with my little spiral notebook, writing down what people say and what they suggested. And people gave us such good advice. They were just so supportive and so willing to help. So it's great. I love doing all these things.
I think I've told this story before, but I've been involved with Model T Ford, Model A Ford, Flathead V8 Ford, wooden boats, and other projects since I was a teenager. I always looked at motorcycles and I thought, well, how hard could it be? There are only two wheels, the tiny little engine.
It's like a lawnmower.
Minimal wiring. Yeah, how hard could it be? Well, I didn't know what I didn't know. And there was a steep learning curve. And I have to tell you, the people who have helped us and responded, not just for the Cannonball, but for motorcycling in general. I've got to give a shout out to all my friends in the Yankee chapter, AMCA, in the Empire chapter, and again, especially Steve LaPolt, my friend Bill Lane in the Empire chapter. Bob Luland has been so much help. Pat Murphy, Brian, Evan Coons, so many folks, and I can't mention all of them, but we've just had so much help and encouragement, and we're just grateful for all.
Well, I want to chime in for a second because I don't think you really realize, you're reciprocating that you've got all this help from all these people, but I don't think you realize of how much you and Joan have given back, because starting in 2014, you guys actually documented and blogged about this whole journey and the whole build, and then did it again in 2016, from making all the parts and the linkages and stuff that you couldn't find, and you actually made it from scratch. And I myself go back every once in a while and take a look at the stuff that you've done to give me inspiration and to see how you've done stuff to build these things. So, my hat is off to you guys, for doing that kind of stuff. And, like I said, I love that part of it and what you guys gave back from doing it.
What's exciting?
I have to tell you, on that 14, on that basket case that I bought, someone, Joan just said, "Oh God," someone had started to build it. The bike changed hands 2 or 3 times.
I bought it because I like the color.
Yeah, someone had started to build, I think, a static model for their den or living room or something, a display, because the crankcase was painted up the correct green. When I stripped it, it was riddled with cracks. The hubs were painted gloss black. And when I took them apart, they were just thick with muddy rust. The cylinders were riddled with cracks. Just about everything that could be wrong was wrong. So I learned in a hurry what to look for and where the weak spots were. But it just had help from so many people. And that's what antique motorcycling and especially the Cannonball has been about, all the friendships and relationships. Speaking of friends, I want to say hello to my brother Mike Carson and Lady T. GLT looking good, buddy. Chris Tribby, Doc McCormick, no throwing popcorn. I see you guys in the back row. I'm a teacher. I know how to keep an eye on you. I want to say hello to the champ.
Here we go.
There it is.
Congratulazioni, Campione Dean.
Steve, I have a question for you. Do you remember when we first met?
Yeah, we came to your shop
at Rhinebeck. No, it was at Rhinebeck, I believe, wasn't it?
At Rhinebeck, yeah.
That was when we were
and you came up to me and asked. Sorry, Joan, go ahead.
I said, that's when we were scouting out. That's when I said to Steve, we have to meet people who know what they're talking about because we know nothing.
And you figured out Rob was not
Exactly.
that.
Guy.
So
Crickets, right. There we go. No, it was nice meeting you guys. You guys were all nervous, and it was really cool. You were telling me I don't ride. I ride a ultra classic or whatever it is you ride, or Softail, and you were. I don't know what to expect. It was. I want to say it was cute, actually.
We were on a steep learning curve. We knew everything. I mean, like I said, we know almost everything we think about Fords. Antique Fords, but knew nothing about motorcycles. And I know that Steve is good when he's got a project. He had just finished working on his T engine coming up the cellar stairs. And I said, how many weeks do you have to do with that? And he says, about 2. I said, you need another project. How about a motorcycle?
That's how we got it.
Let's do that.
You're asking about the 2014 Cannonball. Let me tell you a couple of memories of the 2014 Cannonball. For our viewers, that was from Daytona Beach, Florida, 4,100 miles to Tacoma, Washington. That's across the U.S. the hard way, diagonally. And as a new rider, I was being very conservative and trying to take care of the equipment and make it last. And I found that the best way for me to do that was to skip lunch. But I get very hungry and I get weak and I get dizzy in the afternoon. Remember, I rode my first Cannonball at age 65. So Joan came up with the idea, well, let me pack something for you to eat. You can pack it in your leather jacket. So she came up with a Cannonball trail mix, she called it. Cheerios, nuts, seeds, other dried fruit and stuff. And she put it in a baggie with a Ziploc. Great. So now I got a leather jacket with pocket on each side and front, so I can eat while I'm riding. So I'm riding along, cruising 49, 50 miles an hour on my JD, 1927 JD. Got my right hand on the throttle. Well, let's have something to eat. So I reach in the pocket and I pull out this baggie. Okay. Now the wind is blowing it like this. How the hell am I going to get this thing open? So I took my hand off the throttle, but it would die down again. So, okay, back on the throttle. Whoops, now we come to a hill. Retard the spark, shift down, shift up through the gears again, advance the spark, advance the throttle. Oh, let's try again. I take the baggie and I open it up like this, pull the baggie open, and the vortex, the suction from the wind empties the whole baggie in about 2 seconds. Now, not only does it all blow out, but it blows inside my helmet. Now I got nuts and seeds and Cheerios and dried fruit in my ear. I'm starving. Now, God damn, so I never littered. So I took the baggie and I stuffed it in the pocket. So now I got stuff in my ear. So I'll reach in my helmet and the leather side and I pull it. Now it goes, the wind carries it down in my shirt. So now my Cannonball trail mix is in my shirt. So I'm picking out one Cheerio at a time. That's some of the things you learn. Then I think we switched to a energy bar. Those damn things, they must have been packed in Kevlar. I'm riding along, I'm trying to get it open, and I couldn't tear it, couldn't get it open. But we learn, things you learn.
So I heard about 2016 is the year you couldn't stop, and 2018 was the year you couldn't start. What's that all about?
I've seen you ask other guests what's your strongest memory of some of the Cannonballs. In 2016, on the last day, I could not stop. I was 10 miles from the end and I lost my brakes. In 2018, I was 2.5 miles from the finish line. Now, I was never in this to win anything. We were fortunate enough to win Class 3, the multi-cylinder, multi-speed class twice, but I was never in it to win anything. But when you get 10 or 2.5 miles from the finish and you've made every mile, you want to preserve your good finish. So in 2016, we were on the freeway with about 10 miles to go. We had to get off the freeway. And long story short, I had a close brush with another rider. I hit my brakes real hard. I broke the linkage. And as we got off the freeway, I finished the last 10 miles, Fred Flintstone style, stopping the bike. But this was through little surf towns on the Pacific Coast Highway. And the traffic was all Audis and Mercedes and Jaguars. And as soon as that light went to green, they would take off and they'd race up to me. So I was in a jumble of traffic that was very challenging. But we did finish. We did finish on time. My shoe started out like this. When I finished, they were 6 inches thick. My soles were smoking.
And they were hot, right?
2018, the morning of the last day, we had 51 miles to go. Remember, Jason, 51 miles to Skamania Lodge. The last morning, I've made every mile so far. The bike would not start. Class 1 takes off. Class 2 takes off. Jason's calling Class 3. Pull it up to the line, Class 3. The bike would not. I'm kicking it, would not start. Pedaling because I've got a 15 transmission. I said to Joan, let's put the bike in the trailer. And it was a steep hill residential area behind the hotel. Yeah, there's my 2016 shoe. Those were thick soles when I started. That's 10 miles of Fred Flintstone. 2018, she takes me up the hill in the trailer. I roll down the hill, did not start. Put it back in the trailer, go up there. 3 times we did this. I finally got it started. And I know Jason's putting people on the line. Finally, it started. The bike started, but it's loaded up. So I ran it up and down the block trying to clear it out. I stopped at the stop sign. I looked down, and I got one spark plug wire flailing around. The other spark plug is finger tight. The night before doing my valve adjustment, I always try to be a good proponent of the Cannonball and tell people all about it and everything, and explain about the event. And I was just exhausted. I left one plug wire off. I left the other spark plug only finger tight, and that's why the damn bike wouldn't start. So when I finally got it running, I said, well, that's it for the 51 miles. I'm not going to shut it off. Then we get 2.5 miles from Skamania Lodge, and we were in that big parking lot by the canal. There was a tour boat there. There were two ramps on either side of the parking lot, and we had 100 bikes parked in the parking lot. Then I found out we were going to be there for 2.5 hours or over 2 hours. Yeah, thanks. I had to shut the bike off. I had to shut it off. Would not restart. I am 2 miles from the finish line. Would not start. I push it up the ramp and down. Didn't start. I push it back up again. One guy jumped in behind, pushed me. Didn't start. Pushed it up a third time.
You had a bunch.
Loring Hill. Kyle Rose jumped in behind me, gave me a push. Thank you, guys. The thing started. I cleared it out, but I'm going down the ramp and across the parking lot, and somebody backs out of a parking space. Somebody was there for the boat. Backs out. I said, "Get out of my way! I'm not stopping. I don't care. I am not stopping. Not after 16 days on the road and 3,300 miles." The bike did run. We did make it 2.5 miles to the finish line. The bike made it across the finish line. I made every mile. I shut it off, and I haven't started it since.
Did you ever figure out what the problem was? Why did that do that?
I think I just I compromised the condenser a little bit when I was running with that loose spark plug wire. I had a weak spark, and so we've gone through the magneto and freshened everything up, and it's ready to go now. This is
so that night before when you forgot to put the spark plug on, I remember that night that you guys were parked next to Team Vino. So being tired, man.
I got to tell you, this 15 motor is a standard bore motor, cast iron pistons, 2-lobe cam, solid followers. It's a tractor. It's bulletproof. It just goes and goes and goes. I geared it as tall as I could with the sprockets that were available, and Evan helped me out with that. Thanks, Evan. With good sprockets, geared it as tall as I could. Kept the RPMs down. To go almost 4,000 miles or 3,000 miles, you got to be good to the equipment. You got to make it last, and that was my objective. My primary objective. And I've said this publicly before, was to have a safe race also, to be safe and have a successful finish. But the Cannonball...
Steve, before we move on, can you just slide to your left a little bit Slide to your left so we can see the bike.
Which way is left?
It's
So this is where we're at right now.
yes. I have
It would have been much more complete, but after we called the Cannonball, it was like, okay, it was gin and tonic time. So
Let me ask you a question. Can we come back when you guys have made some more progress and get a better look at the bike and where you guys are at and share some more stories?
Oh yeah, of course. Yep.
That'd be great.
I want to ask him one more question because this has been something I've been wanting to ask for a while, because you brought it up a little bit earlier in the show. Was that in 18 you started on a 1912? Where is that project at right now?
85%.
It's 85% complete. The paint is complete.
Beautiful.
I repaired. I fabricated 23 patches for the cylinders. 11 patches on 11 fins that I replaced. I shaped them on a belt sander, brazed them, and then hit it with a die grinder. 23 on altogether, 11 on one cylinder, 12 on the other. Crankcase, lower end is done. All the paint is done. The wheels are laced and trued and have tires on them. All the paint is done. All the sheet metal's done.
All the nickel plating's done.
All the nickel plating's done, and we did it all here in this 12 by 30 garage. So I still have to do plumbing and wiring,
And the engine.
valves and valve pockets still have to be done. But it's 85% complete.
We're almost there for the
Yeah,
2018.
it was 2 years ago today. It was July 15th. And I think I sent in one picture of all the stuff. I had stuff hanging from the ceiling here of the 12. The 15 was pushed in the back, and I realized I just was not going to finish that 12. And so we got the 15 out.
So it's still in the
So-
pipeline.
Yeah, it's. I want to get this back up and running, the 15, and then we'll turn our attention to the 12. So we'll see. 2021, it's a possibility. We might have.
That was my next question. Do you think we'll see that 12 on the 21, or
possibly?
will we see it on the Cannonball in the future?
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Hey, I want to thank you guys for coming in with us tonight. Great
Thank
stories. As always, Steve, it's a pleasure talking with you and the crew chief, Joan. Look forward to seeing you guys again, hopefully in the near future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
Miss you
Rob,
guys.
thanks, Jason. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank
We know
you.
you're the brains behind everything. Thank you, sweetheart. We
Thank
love you.
you.
Thank you for all your hard work. We know you guys had some sleepless nights and a lot of pressure and stress lately, and we're really grateful for all your effort and everything you've done. Thank you, Cannonball Nation. Proud of everybody connected with the Cannonball.
It was good to see you guys.
It has changed our lives. Thank you.
Thanks,
You guys have a great night.
You too.
Oh, that was great.
Pretty cool.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
awesome. I think it just gets better and better every week that we're doing this and bringing the guests on and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm getting comfortable. I think you're getting comfortable. I think the guests are getting comfortable after they're watching a few shows. I think it's just going to get better and better every time.
Well, it really is a gas doing this, and it's great seeing these people. We haven't had a chance to see them for a while. So, and Steve and Joan are just always two of the nicest folks you could ever meet.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Well, should we take a quick little break here, get a refill, and then bring on our last guest for the night, which I'm excited for?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Perfect. I'll see you in a minute.
Hey, this is Chris from Cycle Source Magazine, and I want to thank you for watching the flagship show of the Source Media Group, Shop Talk. We go live with Shop Talk every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it's only one of the many programs we offer from Source Media. In addition to that, Wednesday nights we have Cannonball Chronicles that looks into the life and times of Cannonball racers as they prepare for this year's Motorcycle Cannonball. Thursday night, we have Bike Night Live that dives into the culture of bike night, the food, the bikes, and the fun of hanging out with friends, and we even have some live entertainment. Sunday morning, Cyber Swap kicks off, where we have a sort of home shopping network approach to motorcycle swap meets, and we bring guys on that have parts to sell live right there. All of this in addition to our staple programs, which are Grease and Gears TV, live on the street from the events and rallies, Grease and Gears Garage, and Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow. We look forward to bringing more of this type of programming to you from the home of Two Wheel Entertainment, the Source Media Group.
All right, we're back, and I'm ready for round number 2. Before we bring on our next guest, Robbie, let's check in on what's happening on social media. Missy, are you still with us in that sidecar watching what's happening?
Yes, I'm still here. So it's definitely unanimous. Everybody loves Steve and Joan. They have some great comments, just how wonderful they are, and everybody is excited about them on here. Let's see. David Crum says you guys are truly telling the story about motorcycling. So that's there. Dick McCormick, great interview. Looks like we got a lot of Cannonballers
I don't know how
tonight.
I don't know how it couldn't be great with those two. They're unbelievable.
Oh, they were amazing for sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Is
much
that about it?
That's about it. Everybody
Okay.
just how great they were and how great their story was.
You know, a lot of
Good.
people
I saw
tonight, guys, commenting about how great it is to listen to the stories, and I mean that's the real treasure here every Wednesday night, is the stories that come out of the accomplishments, the trials and tribulations, and everything. Like, we really sometimes forget. You know, I'll forget to make a switch here and there because I'm glued to it. We're sitting there going, yeah.
You're like, Chris.
And really,
That's
I mean,
cool.
when you hear about this in person, but it's not, or actually when you sit in here and listen to it online, it's nothing like actually even seeing it in person.
Oh, nothing at
all
all.
these people that have been on the show give this same kind of attention, when we're rolling through a city, or if they're at a swap meet, they're quick and they're eager to share many, many stories and help other people out.
It's
and
definitely
I-
it's definitely fun watching the interaction between the people that show up at the lunch stop or the dinner stop, and excited that the bikes are there, and and the guys talk to them and gals, and it's really cool to watch.
Exactly. I mean, the people that are 95 years old down to the children that are in their 2s and 3s and even younger, of everybody just kind of interacting and getting along and seeing this piece of history that these guys are doing.
So the Cannonball is a competition. It's a close friendship. But when we talk about competition, I don't think anybody can sum that up as well as our next guest. And with that,
I give you that.
let's bring in our next guest. Let's meet the rider. Hey, Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing
Great.
excellent. Glad to have you with us on the show this week. I'm super excited to kind of bust in with you to talk about what's going on in your life, what's doing Cannonball outside of Cannonball. I'm fortunate enough to get to follow you on social media, on Instagram. Loving the things that you're doing.
Same here.
Why don't you just give us a few minutes and break in and tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world?
Well, I recently started a project doing flathead Ford speed parts from the 1940s. So there's something called a Frenzel supercharger, and it's consumed the last 6 months of my life. They made a handful of them back in the day. They're just impossible to find now, and I always wanted one for my own ride, so I decided to start reproducing the brand. And well, it's been one hell of an undertaking, and I quit my job to do it full time, and it's getting to the point where my fiance is going to quit hers, and we're going to do this together.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, good to be young.
Speaking about young, Aaron's actually probably one of our youngest riders that we've ever had on the Cannonball. You know, he's just a breath of fresh air. It's nice to see the younger crowd and doing this, and he's doing it on his own. I mean, he's building the motors, he's building the bike. You know, he's wrenching on this thing across the country, and it was a super treat to watch him last year do this. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about your first Cannonball experience, what you rode, and all that.
Jason, before we get into that, I want to know how Aaron found out about the Cannonball, if you don't mind. I didn't know. I know Aaron pretty well, but I want to know how he found out about the Cannonball, if you don't mind.
Well, when I was in high school, my neighbor had a Harley pea shooter engine that was hooked up to an electric motor to be used as a generator. And the thing was built probably 60, 70 years ago. And he knew I was into antique bikes and old motorcycles, and he showed it to me, and my eyes got about the size of saucers. And he offered to sell it to me, and I drug that generator home along with the rusted out frame that it came with. And I started building a bike, but there wasn't much there to work with. So I was using all kinds of parts from things that should never be bolted to that frame. And I start getting excited and reading about what I could do with it, or if there's any antique motorcycle races or dirt track, and then I stumbled on the Cannonball. And a couple of years go by, and I never really find all the parts I need for this bike. And then my godfather sends me a picture of this JD basket case. And I was at work and welding, and saw that text message and flipped out, went outside, gave him a call. He was like, "Oh yeah, the guy that I just sold a boat for asked me if you knew anyone looking for an antique Harley." And it was just so complete compared to the bones that I was working on with the pea shooter. But I was broke at the time, and the guy wanted it was a pretty decent amount of cash for someone that was right out of high school. But I sold the Harley pea shooter. I put a bunch of my auto parts on eBay and Craigslist, and sold basically everything that I really cared about to get this bike. And I ended up having the money for it a week later, and I went, paid him for it, threw it in the back of my truck, drug it home, and that night I had the engine running. But the last guy that put it together, it must have been a long, long time ago, because I found a square nail in the case. And I'm guessing that it was in his shirt pocket, and he bent over when he had the jugs off, and down it went into the engine. But the reason I found out about that square nail is I started the bike, and I had a bottle of gas up on the frame, and I was going to take it up and down the road. Well, I got on the throttle, and the bike just went whack. And the engine quit, and there's oil pouring out the bottom of the engine. Ooh. And I was panicking and brought it into the shop and ripped it apart, got the cases split. There was a big crack going underneath the belly. Well, this nail must have been perfectly lodged sideways, missing the flywheel. And then me pushing it around and revving it was enough to get it dislodged, and it got wrapped up underneath the flywheel and cracked the case.
Oh boy.
Bummer.
So Jason, what was your question? I'm sorry. I jumped on top of that. That's quite a story.
Oh yeah. So I believe my question was, what he actually wrote in the Cannonball last year, what he had to do to kind of really put this thing together, and I just want to kind of hear what his experience was with the first Cannonball and being one of the youngest people on the ride last year. And actually, I think you were probably the youngest.
He's doing this.
No, I think the Hills' son, he was the youngest, and there was also the Lowens, their son, was a couple years younger than me. But yeah, anyway, it was pretty crazy. I was walking into it completely blind, but there was a handful of people that really helped make it work. Like Doug Feinsod is a neighbor of mine, and he's got a handful of JDs and all the knowledge in the world about these bikes. And I showed up with it in the back of my truck in pieces, and he was kind of just showing me around and letting me know what was missing, where I could find it. He even gave me a handful of parts to initially get it on the road. But not to say, even though I had all the parts, there's still some stuff that was tired on that engine, and I swapped in some aluminum pistons from the cast iron ones, which I don't know if it was a good choice, but they were in better shape. I wound up machining a couple of bushings to adapt the wrist pin sizes, and I found that one of the rods was bent. It's like, oh, it's just ductile iron. I'll hammer it straight. And so I made it. It looked good from about a foot away. So I put the bike back together with new gaskets. I used panhead EL pistons and got it back together. And Doug was like, "Let's do the Cannonball." So. A good friend, Richard Duda, ended up not being able to do it, and he let me have his spot and his number plate. So I got into the race that way, and it was an adventure. That bike ended up blowing up twice.
Yeah, I know it was no easy ride for you. I know there was a struggle going across the country, which most riders always experience something like that. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So, but you learn from it. You keep going. You get the motivation from all the other riders to get you back on the road. They're going to give you parts if you need them, and I think we've seen that a lot with you, with people helping you out and getting you back on the road, and giving you the parts that you need to cross the finish line.
Aaron's
Definitely
incredible. He embodies the spirit of the Cannonball. Let me tell you, his tenaciousness and chasing down, not ever quitting. He had broken rods. The engine was apart almost every night, and he just kept going, and he made the finish. He's unbelievable. I mean, this kid won my heart. I'll tell you that. As far as with the amount of involvement he put into this thing, it's unbelievable. He just would never quit. I even told him one night, I don't know how you're going to do this. In 2018. Aaron, do you remember that in Paris, South Dakota?
I do.
You were out there.
And you gave me a shirt.
And I gave you a shirt. And I think you're the only person I know who's actually made a marriage proposal in a retrocycle shirt. So I was pretty impressed.
Still my favorite shirt.
Let me ask you about your team name. What's the name of your team?
So team name is Team Lobster, and I got that name because on the second night in Maine, we ended up having a lobster dinner, and we're all talking about what we could do. We saw a pretty cool hood ornament of a chicken foot giving you the finger strapped on someone's finger. And so I was looking at this lobster, and I'm like, okay, I'll see what I can do. I brought it back, hollowed out the guts. I rode the Harley to the local Home Depot and picked up a can of expanding foam. And I filled the lobster shell with this expanding foam, and then ran a piece of wire through the body, let it dry, and then when it cured, I stuck it to the front fender of the JD. And people got a pretty good laugh out of it, and they started calling it the lobster bike. And Chris Simmons ended up naming the lobster Larry, and so that stuck. So anyway, that went for the rest of the ride, and I ended up just going with the name Team Lobster, and that's I find it pretty funny because my fiance and I just started farming crayfish. So,
so is it is the bike that you rode in the 18 Cannonball, is that what you were planning on riding this year, or were you looking at doing something different? And if you are riding that bike, what kind of changes are you making with it right now?
So the biggest thing I had on the 18 was rod failure, and as you can see, that's not good. But luckily, Team White Trash was kind enough to let me borrow one of their rods, and at the end, I just mailed it back to them. But this year, I didn't want that to happen again, so I ended up machining a set of rods out of 4340, the same stuff they make dragster rods out of. So these ought to work pretty well. They're a lot thicker in the weak points, and the metal.
And you did that completely from scratch?
So I built the CAD file, and I used a quote sourcing site to have them machined, and I made 10 sets of them.
Oh, wow.
Nice. And you're going to bring all 10 sets with you on the next Cannonball?
Yes. That's one of the reasons I did it.
Now we know you won't need them. Now you won't need them because you have 10 sets.
Yes. But hopefully I can help someone else out on the road that has a rod failure down the line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know you're a big pea shooter guy. I see you building a lot of overhead valve pea shooter stuff. I said it here on the show a couple of weeks ago that I'm still putting a challenge out there to you guys, and I can't believe nobody's yet to take a pea shooter on a Cannonball.
That's
do you think I'll ever see a pea shooter out of you?
Absolutely. So this year I'm doing I'm going to throw a seat on the rear rack of the 18. That way the fiance can cruise along. Oh, by that time she'll be my wife. But I don't think the pea shooter can handle two riders. So if things do go to hell in a handbasket, I got a spare bike I'm putting together. It's a pea shooter that's stroked to a 450.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's excellent. So you brought it up that your fiance is going to be your wife. When are we expecting the big day?
Yes. Well, we were supposed to get married in this past month, but because of the whole COVID thing, our wedding got canceled. So it's getting pushed back till October, but we're still not certain if we'll be able to get the permit yet for the wedding because of this whole deal.
That's so crazy. I feel for you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It's terrible.
So what's she been up to lately? What's her feelings? And she's such a great girl. I want to hear what she's been up to in her life right now.
So she's an environmental scientist. She does a lot of hydrology sampling and mapping for an environmental consulting company. But she's actually quitting her job in September to help with the parts business. And so by then, she won't have to worry about getting the time off for the coming Cannonball. She'll be able to do it along with us, which would be nice.
Heck yeah. That's the best way to get to the Cannonball. Just quit your job. I recommend that to everybody. So I want to go back to just a few minutes with your performance company that you're doing with the superchargers. It's been really great to see everything that you're doing online and really hand making all this stuff. What can we kind of see next out of you? I mean, I know you're working on the Frenzel stuff. Seems like you're staying busy with that, but is there anything new down the pipeline?
I'm doing I'm doing 2 new types of superchargers. I'm building my own line of superchargers that resemble the old Miller racing engine chargers. And those are going to be for flathead Ford, Jaguar XK6, and looking at doing a couple other motors, but we haven't decided yet. And also doing some supercharger kits for 4-banger Model A's. And I also make parts for JD and P-Shooter too. I was doing the complete overhead valve kits for Harley P-Shooter. I had some issues with the initial tooling that I made as far as shrinkage, but I just got that sorted out. I got some new patterns, and I'm going to start working on those as soon as I can catch up with the Frenzel orders.
Excellent. Weren't you at one time making an overhead valve for JD out of some kind of aircraft parts or something like that? I can't remember. I was trying to think back on that here for a second.
Yeah, these are 1925 Siemens aircraft cylinders. And if I were to put these on a JD, it'd be about 1,800 to 2,000 cc, depending on how much sleeving I can get away with and how well I can keep that bottom end together.
Right.
So, yeah, but I'm not sure which set of JD cases I feel like throwing a rod through just yet, so I'm still thinking about it.
Hey, Robbie said he's got about 20 sets he'll send you.
Yeah. What about casting cases?
I thought about it.
You might have to if you're going to do stuff like that. You got enough stroke in that to push that cylinder? You can have enough stroke in that engine.
The bore on that thing is, I believe it's a little over 4 inches in diameter. So you wouldn't need that much stroke to get that kind of displacement out of it. But the problem is the rods. They're just not long enough to make it all the way to the top of that stroke. So I'd have to make some custom rods.
Right. Well, you got to remember the bottom of the stroke too. But anyway, we're getting a little too detailed. But what goes up must come down, right? So
yes, I understand. But that's a whole other story.
Aaron, let's talk about a lathe in a hotel room. What's that all about?
I know nothing of this.
Well, I heard a rumor, and this is what got me. This lathe, you made so many parts on this little desktop lathe. Unbelievable. Tell us about what your trials and tribulations with this thing.
So at the time, I was a machinist by trade, and I ended up breaking that first piston, and I picked up another one from Rowdy Sheck, and he ended up knowing where I can get this little lathe that I can make some adapters to run the smaller wrist pins. So he let me borrow this lathe, and I set it up in a hotel room that someone else was staying in because I was sleeping in the trailer. And I ran it for a few hours and figured these guys probably want to go to bed. So I I picked up the tarp that all the chips were on and grabbed a lathe and headed back downstairs. And I posted up inside Doug Feinsod's van. And I had just a headlamp to do my machining with. And I hooked it up to the battery that was running the van. And I was there for about 3 hours running it off the battery. And this is a tiny lathe. It's something called a Unimat. So I could only remove about 1/1000th of an inch at a time per pass. And so I sat there and I hogged off all the material, made my parts, and then I passed out for about an hour and then woke up next day and the van wouldn't start because I ran down both the batteries that were on it.
Oops.
I felt real bad about that because everyone was in a big hurry trying to get to the finish line, and this van was part of it. Because we were in the hotel that was on the other side of town from the finish line. So anyway, we found someone that was kind enough to give us a jump start, and the following day I put the bike back together, and it was humming down the road again.
You had so many like fatal failures and yet still made the finish line. And that's what impressed me the most. You're incredible. I mean, you would not take no for an answer. And so tell me how that felt, riding that bike across the finish line at Skamania Lodge in Washington.
Oh, I could not stop laughing. And there's a picture of going across the finish line. I was just giggling the whole way. It felt great. I didn't want to push that bike across. That just seemed embarrassing with the whole family there waiting for me to show up, especially because I was about to propose to my future wife and her family was there. See me pushing the bike. Oh my God, who's this guy that our daughter's getting engaged to?
Now that was actually a really great moment. One of those things that it was, the 2018 was a lot of firsts for Cannonballs. And one of them being we had our first marriage proposal during the award ceremony. I mean, it was super cool and just kind of out of nowhere. And it shocked everybody. And
it was so cool.
The place was just rolling, you know. I mean, it was the emotions that were going through everything was just killer.
I think we have a video of that, don't we?
Do we?
You guys weren't kidding when you said this would be a life-changing experience. And I want to thank everybody here that's made this possible, even the sweepers. So thankful for everybody, and one person in particular that made this possible, that put up with a lot of hell for me to be here, and I'd like to introduce you to her for a second. Can I have you up here, Maddie? Just for a minute. I just have one question. Madeline.
Holy cow, man. That just brought a huge emotion back to me. I mean, I'm teary-eyed and got chills on my arms. I mean, just bringing that back, that's unbelievable.
So what would you have done if she said no?
Oh, that would have been pretty embarrassing. And Rebecca Cunningham shot that video, and I'm really happy with it. She did such a great job. And I approached her to do that at the very beginning of the Cannonball, and she was just so on board. And another thing she did that was super kind for me is whenever my bike blew up twice, and I was trying to find parts for it, she ended up letting me borrow the red Flyer, so I could still ride along with the Cannonball and do support.
Oh,
so
nice.
I thought that was just super neat. That she did me a huge solid.
She's a sweetheart for sure.
Yes, she is.
How much sleep did you get on the Cannonball, Aaron?
What sleep?
Well, here's the good news, though. You didn't have the most miles on the sweep trailer, did you?
Oh, no, I did not. And I guess that's one victory.
That is a victory.
And I mean, I think we can attest to what you did on the Cannonball, that you can actually do a Cannonball on a shoestring budget. I think that, what you put in it for budget wise, and then getting across the country. I mean, I don't think people realize that every night you slept in a support true, just an enclosed trailer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a cardboard floor with a covering on it, and I had a sleeping bag, and it wasn't that much different than normal life. I love camping, so it was no big thing. Anybody can do it. It's the biggest fee, I think, the whole time was just the entry fee, and of course fuel. I don't know how much fuel I burnt, but I only got about half the miles, so it wasn't bad.
What's your favorite memory from the last Cannonball?
Oh, shoot.
You better say the
definitely
proposal.
But another thing that really stuck out is I was just getting over the flu, sleeping in that trailer, and my friend Brett brought me a killer meal. They went to this real nice restaurant, and I was trying to sleep off my cold, and I'm not saying he took it, but he had a nice fabric napkin and some real silverware for me to eat this food with. So afterwards, we took that black napkin, and we picked up a silver Sharpie and made a Jolly Roger to fly from the back of my bike.
Nice.
And what do you think? What do you have to say about the Cannonball family for people who don't know what it is? How can you sum up the Cannonball family?
They're amazing people. People will take the shirt off their back for a total stranger. It's all these people I've never met before were just willing to give me parts and try to help me get the bike back on the road anywhere I could. And that's really something.
Well, we're all proud of you. We're all proud of your accomplishment. Now, you say you only made half the miles, but it was a major accomplishment with the budget that you had and the way you went about it. Hats off to you for what you did.
I appreciate that.
Heck yeah. So we're starting to run out of time here for this week. It's been great having you on. Before we let you go, I want to just give you a few minutes to tell everybody out there in the digital world where they can follow you, how they can see what you're progressing on, and give a little shout out and plug to yourself.
I appreciate that. Well, my Instagram page is Loveless Performance. It's Loveless __ performance. And I do a lot of videos every week, mostly pouring metal and machining parts, and I put all the new parts that I'm making there, and adventures, whatnot. And I'm also on Facebook. Not as active on Facebook, but it's Aaron Loveless. That's about it. And my website, if you're interested in seeing the work on the superchargers, it's frenzelsuperchargers.com.
Perfect. Well, it's been just a huge pleasure to have you on this week. I want to get with you here in the near future. Maybe you can let us know when the wedding's going to be, and we can all kind of tune in and, give you some congratulations and stuff on that. When you get some new parts out there, reach out to us so we can help promote you with them. And, it's been great to have you again on here. And, I was hoping to see you here in just a few short months, but hopefully I'll see you sometime here soon.
Well, it was great. And I hope you all have an awesome night. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks, Aaron. Great to see you again, buddy.
Thanks,
Be
Aaron.
good.
So what a great show tonight, huh, Robbie?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I felt like I was back in the Cannonball parking lot, one of the parking lots, sitting around shooting the crap, with everybody. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great night. Great night.
Absolutely.
And it's always good to see you, Jason.
Hey.
That's what everybody says to your face. To your face.
Hey, I'm having fun. Really enjoy doing this. I can't wait for next week. I don't even know who we got on there. Don't really matter because everybody we talk to is fun. Everybody's got a great story.
Cole Deister said earlier, I forgot to bring this up because we were having so much fun. He's going to get a picture of Doug Wathke broke down this week. He's going to make sure he gets us a picture of that.
I'm going to put a little bet out there to these guys. I mean, we did this when we were over in Europe last year. I think we'll all have to put like $20-25 in the kitty, and last person to break down this weekend gets the whole pot. So I think we just need to put the challenge out there. And next week I'll report back when I get back from Colorado to see who got that.
You're going to have everybody breaking down like 100 feet from the finish and all pushing like slower than the other to get to the finish. You're going to get us some video of this, right?
Oh, heck yeah, man. I got 2 new GoPros.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, you have fun out there. Be safe. Have a good time.
I will. I hope you get everything fixed in your shop and get back on the normal and have a good time.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get out on a bike one of these days.
Missy, I want to thank you for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoyed what you did and everything that you put into it tonight. And next week we got another great photo, another great segment, a couple of new guests, and we'll just talk a bunch more gibberish like we are now and have some fun.
Stretch it out.
Hey, thanks again to our sponsors. You can watch these shows if you didn't get here early enough. You can watch it on our Facebook anytime, Cycle Sources Facebook. Go to our YouTube channels. They're there, and they'll live on there forever. So, go back and watch this thing 35 times if you want to.
Yeah, if you missed the beginning, go back and watch. Probably in 10 minutes, it'll be up there as a rerun. So we appreciate everybody who's tuned in, like and share as always. And Jason, you want to give some final words? And with that, I'm going to say goodnight.
I just want to thank everybody again. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure. If you got any feedback, any comments, please let us know. If there's somebody out there that you want us to bring on the show, put something in the comments. We look back and see all of them and try to reach out to all these people. We want to bring you the people that you want to see, and bring you the stories that you might not get to hear otherwise, the stuff that we share in the parking lots, on the phone, in between each other. That's what we're trying to do here. Just bring you a little bit of what happens in this antique motorcycle world. So with that, thanks again. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Missy. Thank you, Cycle Source. Thank you, everybody, Marge, everybody that's behind the scenes. We appreciate you. We love you. My drink is empty, so that means I have to go.